Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of the TubeMix football podcast called Without Ever Kicked a Ball. Now, this episode, we're down to two, and our panel are Jordan Irlam and Ben Carney.
Hello, Will. How are you?
Yes, good, thank you. Tell you what an eventful week of football it's been. So look forward to digesting all the big stories.
Yes,
Let
you're
me ask
right.
you a question before we start. Sorry to interject, Ben. Let me ask you a question before we start, Will, because this is the first week in a long time where you've kind of been all across, well, ever in terms of the Premier League and the EFL. Have you, we asked this question last week. I don't know whether it was on air or off air, but have you enjoyed the week of football or?
I mean, it's okay. I wouldn't say I really absolutely enjoy it, but I don't hate it. I can watch it, but not absolutely devoted to it, I guess. Yeah.
Let's say, let me give you for instance, right? Let's say I'm trying to think of an incident. Let's say an incident that we're going to go in depth on later on, like Eberechi Eze scores a free kick and then the referee blows up. Are you are you into that? Are you thinking, oh God, what's gone off here? Oh God, VAR. Oh God, referees. Oh, what a goal. Or are you just like, oh, okay.
No, not really, to be honest. I mean, the odd occasional time, like if it was like, if they missed a really close, which they absolutely should have scored, but no, not generally, to be honest.
It must. My question to you, Will, it's not really a question, I suppose. It's just an observation, but obviously, to the average football fan, obviously, they follow a team. They're devoted to that team. Sometimes their mood can be dictated by that team. And it must be quite a nice but weird feeling for someone like you who isn't really attached to any team in particular.
Well, yeah, I'm just basically a neutral. I'm not supported or attached to any team, so...
Yes.
I do think it's weird in the sense though that I think part of probably the best thing about football is when you've got a vested interest in a team, like say you with United or me with the Alex or even Chelsea, even though I try not to be a fan, I just try to help myself.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly.
I think that is part of the beautiful thing about football. Now, to kick off our conversation, I'm gonna slide very, very smoothly from Chelsea into the Raheem Sterling debate, which I know is something that you wanted to talk about, Will.
Well, exactly. I mean, for anyone who's involved in football, that statement was pretty extraordinary. Regarding clarity for not being included in the squad, but then you had Jamie Carragher, well, just play better. I mean, Jordan, as a Chelsea fan, what are your thoughts on the Raheem Sterling drama?
First of all, I think it's not very well worded. It's very much kind of, there's a lot of as a team, we want this. As a camp, we demand clarity, and it's very poorly worded, and I wonder who that's kind of came from.
Well, probably his agent, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's his representatives. It's not him. It's not Sterling.
Within the last couple of hours, it's come out that Raheem Sterling is also out of the squad.
I know. I saw. Yeah.
Yeah, saw that. Yeah.
For the Conference League qualifier, which I actually think is a direct response to what happened on Sunday.
It can't have helped his case, can it?
Well,
a statement saying the manager, how dare you not pick our player,
Well, it's not quite that. It's basically that, but it's not worded that strongly, is it? Let's not, but as a realistically, he probably was well within a chance of getting minutes in a game like that, and doing what he's done has probably completely wrecked that. I wouldn't be surprised if he probably leaves the club now, which
It
it didn't
feels
go
like an
well.
inevitability, to be honest.
Yeah, it hasn't worked for him at all since he's been at Chelsea, and I just think if that's the way he's going to handle himself, somebody that's been around the English game that much, you know,
Yeah. Well, he's sort of a veteran, isn't he now?
yeah, I think he's completely let the team down no matter what, and I think we will discuss Chelsea and City. I wonder how much of the performance there was any residual kind of felt.
Which, of course, sorry to interrupt, but of course, Sterling came from Manchester City to Chelsea, so.
Yeah,
Yes, he did.
yes,
He
he
did.
did. Yeah,
Um,
I'm not entirely sure whether that has um, any bearing on what's happened. I think from a fan's point of view, by the way, just before we move on to anything else, as a Chelsea fan, I think he talks about how much he loves Chelsea and he sees his future there, and he's got a 3-year contract, blah blah blah. I don't think if you love the club that much, I don't think you jeopardise the
No, I
team
don't.
and the spirit
Literally,
before a game like that.
my view, it's his representatives that have maybe pushed him to
Yeah,
agree
but
to
then
that
again, I
statement.
also think that Raheem Sterling as a person, as we know from all the years that he's been around, because a lot of us are, I got into football very late. My first season was 2012-13, which was sort of Sterling's breakout year. Like we've grown up with, some of us have grown up with Sterling, and I think we know that there's lots of controversies, and he doesn't mind kind of shying away from the public eye. It just seems like it might have benefited. If he was upset about it, it might have benefited words from him instead of some sort of, kind of blanket statement from his team that's just not come across very well at
Well,
all.
okay, yes, but obviously there is a history of agents having much more control sometimes and pressure and wanting to have the last word on things. So that is my view of the situation personally.
the thing I would add, which has not been said,
Yeah,
is
go on,
that
Ben. Let's hear your view.
with Sterling's statement, I think it was unnecessary. As Jamie Carragher sort of said, just play football, That's what you're
Just get on
paid
with
to.
it, get your head down and get working.
Yes, exactly. That's what you're paid to do. And I think with Chelsea, obviously, with the Todd Bowley regime, it's been quite chaotic there.
It's a
Since he
revolving
took,
door, basically. Players in and players out.
yeah, exactly. And it's been chaotic since he took over. And I think that obviously won't help the chaotic environment. But I suspect, like Jordan said, I suspect a move elsewhere will be best placed for Sterling now.
Yeah, and I suppose while we're on the Chelsea scenario, it is probably best to start there in terms of rounding up the Premier League, and we will do that. I do just want to say though that with the size of the squad that Chelsea have got and the ins and the outs, and
They've got too many players, haven't they, really?
but like in terms of available first team, not on loan, that aren't going to go on loan, we're talking about. I think I saw a thing where they're supposed to have 25 for a Premier League, 25 first team senior players. That's disregarding youth because they can come in whenever.
Yeah.
So they've got 30, is what I read, is what Enzo Maresca said.
Yes.
Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. They've got 30 senior players. Now, I imagine most of those, in fact, almost all of those will go. We already know about Gallagher. We already know that they're working on Trevor Chalobah. Armando Broja is close to agreeing a deal with Ipswich on loan. So that 30 players is going to be trimmed down
Yes,
before,
and
before the end
if
of this,
Lukaku
definitely.
goes as well, that could be a number, I
So,
suppose.
so one of the things that I'm saying is that the chances, the chances of the opportunity for Sterling is gonna come up definitely, sure. And I just think that he like Carragher said, he needed to wait it out.
It seems like they jumped to the gun, haven't they? Just because he wasn't included for
But
in the
but at the
squad.
same time, it's in the thing of in the what's the word in the spirit of fairness, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We're not there day to day. We don't actually know what's being said and what isn't. It is a disgusting and incredibly disrespectful statement under the veil of, oh, Raheem loves the club, he just wants clarity.
I
Towards the
wouldn't go far
manager.
with disgusting. I think you've got a bit over the top there, George.
It's disgusting in the place of, yeah, but no, think about it like this, right? How many players are unhappy? How many players do we hear are unhappy? Loads of them, loads.
Well, yes, because
All right.
you can't please everybody.
Now, we talked about John Rowe last week, and and we said that that was disgusting and disgraceful, and words like that were used. But how is this any different? In fact,
Well, again, I wouldn't
in
say.
a in a high profile scenario, such as Chelsea, in the magnitude of the game that it was against Man City and Maresca's first game, really important. Get off to a good start, which some might say they did, some might say they didn't. Obviously, they lost, but I'm talking performance-wise. Um, but all that really seems to have done is completely derailed the, a lot of the a lot of the talk, and it's not so much about Maresca and Chelsea and the players. It's all about Raheem, and that is why I just think that it's pretty terrible. I'm not, and we say about the same about the John Rowe thing isn't great either, but we look to that from a different viewpoint. You're
Well,
looking at a team.
I think the Jonathan Rose situation is far worse because he said on match day, he told the manager Johannes, for oh, sorry, I'm not in the right frame of mind because all the speculation is distracting me. That's the far worse of him because at the last minute, he said no, I can't play for you.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, right? Obviously, there must be a breakdown. This is why I'm saying we don't know if Raheem Sterling or his team or let's face it, it's all about whatever's been said, right?
Well,
And
yes, of course.
if there's no communication between them, and he thinks he needs to do that to get the message across, I'm not being funny, but that's even more selfish than turning around to the manager, than John Rowe turning around to the manager on match day and going, "Look, I'm not in the right headspace. I can't do this."
Okay, well
I
that is true. Well, yes, if he needed to communicate with the manager and Zabarasi, you do it behind closed doors. You don't do it with a public statement. So, but yes, I do get
yeah,
what you put.
it just doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't wash either.
Yes,
I
I
think
get it. I don't think it's good, but I think disgusting has taken it a little bit too far.
yeah, but what kind of respect are you showing for your club and your teammates doing that on the day of a match?
Yeah, exactly. Because one motto I live by for every single club, no matter what step it is, nobody is bigger than the club.
Oh well, yes, of course, yes.
And that's the thing as well. Is like it completely. Well, we can't say this for definite because we don't know what how strong the relationships are. But if my teammate had done that to me the day before a game, and I've got to go out there, and it's this massive game with all this hype around it, and oh, Chelsea are a circus, they're buying this player, that player, whatever. When actually, when you look at it, they've not done that much, that bad. They're just buying up loads of kids You know, and for me, if my teammate had kind of done that, I think I'd be absolutely furious.
Yeah,
Really.
especially when you mention just then that Chelsea's sort of way in the transfer market has been to buy youthful prospects. You know, you look at Sterling, he's been around the block in the Premier League.
He's playing for Liverpool and then Manchester City.
He's got experience, so you'd think
and England as well, England international as well.
Yeah, don't forget England. You'd think with him, he'd guide the young players to set an example.
I just want to interrupt you, but I think Sterling, from what I read, seems to now regard himself, as the veteran who is a sort of mentor to the young players now in that Chelsea
team. But then look at it from that standpoint, then, Will, and tell me that statement doesn't completely contradict that.
I don't think it's Sterling's fault. I think it's the agent that has really pressured.
Listen. If you're a professional footballer with the experience that he's had, with the experience of the controversies that he's had, if you are letting your team, your agent, whatever, put that statement out on your behalf, then you are the biggest idiot on the planet.
Okay, but agents do have a lot of power, though.
No, listen. In what scenario do you think would any professional footballer think, especially somebody with the experience of Raheem Sterling, think that would achieve anything other than to derail the team?
I agree, Joe.
That's all it does. And you can't sit there and you can't say, he's a veteran, he's a mentor, because absolutely no senior player at any football club at any level would tell a young player, this is how you should do it if you want to, if you're angling for a move or if you're angry. It's absolutely abhorrent. It's terrible.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the point I was trying to make, because I think, you say a mentor, senior pro, however you want to word it, that is not the right example to set.
Well, yes, and I agree, but I think my view is it's, there's been a lot of pressure from the agent, and Sterling would feel lost without his agent, maybe.
Well, perhaps.
If he's a young player, if he was a young player, I'd be happy to say, yeah, I agree with that. But as somebody of the age that Raheem Sterling is, he's a multi-millionaire. He doesn't need to do things like that. It's just ridiculous. It's laughable.
Exactly. Sorry, Joe.
One thing, it's laughable, and that's the problem, because a lot of these kind of armchair critics look at Chelsea and they're laughing at what's going on already, and they're right to.
Well, yes, of course, because it's a mess.
Just like people are right to look at, let's say, I'm trying to think of another scenario, like people have been doing with Man United for years, for example, right? Or people have done with Liverpool because they haven't signed anybody. People will laugh. They laugh at you when you don't sign players. They laugh at you when you sign bloody hundreds, right?
Well, exactly.
So with Chelsea being one of those clubs that are being laughed at week by week, why give people more ammunition? It's not about the club. He doesn't give a shit about the club, because if he did, sorry for swearing, if he did, he wouldn't do that.
Don't apologise for swearing.
No, look, we're not a family show. Who gives a fuck? But it's just worth saying that, like, if he really cared about the club, he's proving that he doesn't care about the club by saying how much he cares about the club in a statement in which he's demanding clarification on his playing position on a match day. It's one of those ridiculous things I've ever seen.
Well, what my view is, I think Sterling has been caught up in this, and I don't think this is his fault. That's my view.
But what makes what? All right, well, we kind of could do with moving away from this, I guess. But one thing that I do want to know is why do you think that? Why?
Because I think Sterling seems like the kind of player who would con- conduct himself, rightly. So.
Yeah, well,
The same player that thought it was okay to strangle Joe Gomez in England training a couple of years ago.
I don't remember that. Sterling did that, did he?
He grabbed him by the throat, didn't he? They had a bit of a to do.
God,
yes,
I don't remember that at all.
Yes. Well, just my final thing on Sterling before we actually get on to the game. I think, as I said before, just reiterating, I think it's best for all parties if they move on, to be fair. And I think, because if he stays and continues whinging or whatever, then it will do his image harm. Like, for example, look at Harry Maguire. He was hurled dog's abuse for years down the pecking order at United.
Well, yes, it was. Yes.
It seemed like he was going to move away from the club. Players got injured, which meant he finally got his chance, took his chance, and his form has been meteoric since then.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Look, if you sit there and you be patient and you prove how good a player you are, the chances will come. And I just think that's the problem with it. Like it's just there's no, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no foresight. He's not looking at the future and thinking, if I sit there and I don't let this go out and I sit and I wait for my turn, I will get a chance. Because let's face it, when he was at Man City, he had to do that. When he was up against Mahrez and guys like that, he had to be patient and wait for his moment, and he got it.
Yes.
And he ended up being a key part of that City team.
Yeah.
He did.
So we know that he can sit there and he can wait. So I don't see what's different. I don't see.
Well, that's why he's got pressure from his agents. That's what I'm thinking.
No, I
don't buy the agent thing, to be honest, because if you think about it, Will, whether it's his agent or not, he will still have access to view that statement. He will still have access to tell them whether to put it up or not. So, yes, his agent would have wrote it or his entourage, but he's still got access. So, I don't buy that, to be honest. But moving on.
I'd just say that's my
view. Look. And I've got the perfect segue here because one thing that you can say about Sterling is it is a bit of a PR nightmare.
Oh yes, absolutely. It's a car crash.
Another person who had a bit of a PR nightmare on Sunday evening / afternoon was Cucurella. He spent a lot of time talking about Haaland.
Look out, Cucurella's coming for you.
And this, that, and the other. But obviously, the opening goal at Stamford Bridge on Sunday came from a ball played through, flicked on by Bernardo Silva into the path of Haaland, who, pretty much outmuscled and outplayed Cucurella and slotted into the back of the net as Haaland does.
He's a great player, isn't he?
100 City games and 91 goals. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Go on, George, carry on.
I was just going to say that, Will was just talking about Haaland. It's just worth mentioning that, like, Will, you've been out of football for the past few years, so you've probably never even seen Haaland. You probably, this is quite an exciting time
I've
for you
seen
to
bits
see.
and pieces of him, in clips of him City and clips of him at Dortmund, and so on social media and stuff. Because, obviously, if you can't get away from football, really.
No,
Well, I would just like to ask you, Will, because I think sometimes when we do this show, because me, Sam, George, whoever does it, because we're more into football than
You
yourself.
absolutely live and breathe football 100%.
Yes. So I'd like to take this time before I give my opinions to ask you what you thought of the game and what your opinions were, because I think sometimes you can get overlooked.
No, and I appreciate that. Well, my thoughts were, for a lot of it, Chelsea were leaving lots of space and they were getting opened up. But then obviously when Enzo Maresca made several Chelsea changes, then Chelsea started to improve. But, mostly they were getting open up and leaving lots of spaces. And, City were controlling the game, really, for me.
Yeah, well, I just picking up on that. I thought a real standout for City before he went off was the debutant Savinio. I thought he was a really
he was quality.
He was a really tricky player, polished in his decision making. Similar to Mahrez, I thought, to be fair,
Right.
by the looks of it. I think you make a good point in saying that there were spells in the game where Chelsea took it to City. I thought Pedro Neto's introduction.
Yes, as soon as he came off the bench, it felt like it gave Chelsea a huge lift. Everyone thought, oh, do you know, maybe we can win this, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Huge psychological boost.
And I think also it's important to remember that it's only the first game, that the players will be implementing a new style with Maresca.
Well, of course, it'll take time to get up to speed.
Yes, a lot of possession-based football, playing from the back, which...
but of course, you can have all the possession in the world, and if, you can still lose the game, so...
Yeah, exactly, that's the beauty about football. There's different ways to win. Go long on the deck, But yeah, that's my thoughts. Don't know if you want to add any more, George.
Not really. I just want to really second everything. Really,
Actually,
I
just want to say sorry. Matteo Kovacic, former Chelsea player, coming in for Rodri.
Yeah, look, always hurts when it's an ex-player. I think Robert Sanchez doesn't cover himself in glory, but I've never
absolutely
really
not.
I've never really been that big of a fan of him, and to be honest, I think he might be one of the ones that's on the way out the door, which is genuinely completely fine with me, which I know isn't very unbiased, but I'm just going to say it.
No, it's fine, Johnny. Just say what you think. Speak your mind.
City without Rodri, you always think, oh God, here we go.
Oh no, they're going to struggle here, and then turns out, no, it's fine, not a miss at all.
Yeah, no, they were great, and they continue to move the ball in the way that they do, and play that way that wins them titles. And Haaland is just a complete goal scoring machine, unlike anything we've seen in the modern era. Even like you think about, Ronaldo and Messi, the goals that they scored, they were complete goalsmen. And, but let's face it, Ronaldo spent most of his time on the left and Messi most of his time on the right or as the 10. I'm
Now,
talking
are we talking about Cristiano Ronaldo or Brazil Ronaldo?
Cristiano.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
CR7.
Right. Sorry, just
So,
to
but I'm
clarify.
talking about like in terms of a pure number 9. He like Haaland is something like people our generation have never seen before. He's a complete and utter he's an absolute goal scoring machine.
Just want to ask both of you just one final question before we move on. Obviously, there's been much talk about this. Do you think this would be Pep Guardiola's final season?
No.
He always sort of flirts with the idea, but I think not. But last thing on the game I wanted to say was that one thing I admire City for, and it pains me to say that because I hate them, is the fact that they're masters of tempo manipulation. And what I mean by that is when teams think they've got a grip of the game, City will just take the sting out of it, and before you know it, 15 minutes have gone by and they've controlled the game again. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Right, okay. Anything more, George, before we move on?
Yeah, no, just 2 more things from me.
Okay.
And that is Savinho is some player. I'm very excited about him, and also that I think it's early days for Chelsea. I think there was a lot of positives there, which I didn't think there were going to be. I felt like there were moments where we actually did take the game to City.
It's going to be interesting if Cole Palmer, can kick on from last season.
Yeah, and I think he will. I think he's got to be the talisman. I think the other thing is like Ben said, although it is the majority, that starting 11 was basically, a Pochettino starting 11. It is going to take time because we've heard from Leicester players that I said it last week, I'm sure I did, that the demands from Maresca physically, tactically, are very high. That even for some of these high level players that Chelsea have got, because they have got some, I don't really think that much has been put on them physically or tactically over the last 2 years. If we see how kind of weak the Chelsea teams have been, despite the quality they've got. Look, there's still a couple of weeks in the window. There could still be a few more players in. We don't exactly know what the finished Chelsea Maresca is, but I'm slightly concerned.
Yeah, we'll have to wait to see if there's more exits. So
I'm slightly concerned that we probably won't see that, to be honest, because you know what these new owners are like. If it starts to not work, throw the baby out.
Mm-hmm.
That's for as it is. One thing that I wanted to say, and this is moving on, of course, is and we talked about this a little bit off air when we kind of we talked about what we're going to discuss and stuff. 3 promoted teams: Leicester, Southampton, Ipswich, but all 3 teams with difficult tasks for difficult reasons. Liverpool are Liverpool, and despite the Arne Slot appointment, we know that they're still gonna, especially in an Ipswich, they're gonna look to play the kind of football they do with the players they have. Newcastle are Newcastle, and I think that this is the season where they really have to push for Europe again. Otherwise,
sorry, just to interrupt you, but do you think Newcastle will get Mark Gay? Mark Gay, sorry.
Mark Gay.
Oh, Gay. Sorry, right, okay.
They are the richest club in the world, despite the fact they haven't really spent money like it. So, we'll have to see.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
carry on, George. I won't give my opinion on that.
Yeah, so, Newcastle and Newcastle, and I do think that, this is probably the year where they do need to kick on in terms of the plan that the Saudis have got, because we heard that, when they got Champions League in that season, season before last, that it was a couple of years ahead of where they need to be. So right now, the season where we are is probably, they want to be looking for Europe. So difficult task for Southampton. And then Leicester and Spurs on Monday night, which again, one of those
Now,
where...
I didn't see this, so I didn't see this game.
So
My opinion, just before you continue, George, my opinion was that game was the game of the weekend. I thought it was a really enjoyable watch.
Yeah, no, I definitely enjoyed it as well, as somebody with a bit of a soft spot for Leicester, as we discussed in the past. But yeah, I think that Leicester and Tottenham is interesting and a difficult task for Leicester because it didn't necessarily end particularly well under Ange, and I do think there has been over the summer a lot of question marks. Although I do like him, but I think there are still questions. So, considering that both me and Ben feel like it is a game of the week contender, I think that's probably the best place to start. Now, Spurs had a lot of chances. One from a James Maddison cross headed in by Pedro Porro, and various others, because there's quite a few. But it was obviously the Foxes that nipped in, and one wily old Fox, Jamie Vardy, on the end of the chance to get the draw.
Just to interrupt, but did you see, apparently he was drinking a Red Bull moments before he came on?
I'm not so sure about that, but I do know that there was a lot of shithousery when he came off the field. Kind of, it was very, very clear on Sky. You could see him mouthing to Christian Romero to fuck off, and then he went to the Spurs fans and he was pointing at the Premier League badge and he's going, "Me 1, you 0." So it's great. Look, that's what we love about Leicester, and it's difficult to say too much about a draw. But the one thing that I want to highlight is that the transition from Maresca to Cooper seems very smooth. They were very impressive, I felt, last night.
Well, obviously, Steve Cooper's a very experienced manager, isn't he? So.
No, I agree, George. One thing I will say is, as I said in my preview earlier, it was the old adage of a game of two halves. Tottenham had the better of the first half and should have probably killed the game off. If they'd been more clinical, they would have done, and perhaps Solanke would have got a debut goal.
Actually,
to get
talking
him.
of Dominic Solanke, how did he get on for his first appearance in a Spurs shirt? Generally,
he didn't do too bad. Was a bit wasteful, but he was getting into the right positions.
I think positive, wasn't he?
Yes,
Positive
it was.
Is the word.
Yeah.
Because I agree, he did miss a few chances, but when you get in the right positions, the chances turn into goals eventually.
Yeah, and he's at obviously Tottenham. They create a few more chances than a club like Bournemouth. So if he stays in the right positions, he'll be fine. I just want to highlight in the second half, I was really impressed with how Leicester basically went toe-to-toe with Tottenham, and we saw the frailties Tottenham can possess, and if you pardon the pun, they turned a bit Spursy. But I think with Leicester, if they put in performances like that, they may survive. Obviously, it's a long, hard season. We don't know whether they will or not.
Of course, it's very early days yet. So.
But they definitely have a chance if if they put in performances like that. But they need to keep a good feeling around the club, because before they scored, and certainly in the first half, the ground, the atmosphere everywhere was a bit flat. But once they scored, the spirits were rejuvenated.
Wow, amazing!
Yeah,
Just what one goal can do, really, to
Yeah,
change the
exactly.
mood of the whole entire game.
and obviously we can move on to the next game after this, but I do want to say just, obviously we had the Rodrigo Benton Kerr head injury, which wasn't great viewing, very worrying whenever you see that player having to get stretchered off.
Yeah.
As far as I know, he's okay. Do we know anything else?
No, nothing
No,
else.
not much else been said. Didn't think so. But yeah, it's funny because you were talking about, this is the last thing I'll say before we move on, but you were talking about City and tempo, and I think tempo is really important within games. But another thing that I think is really important is momentum, and I think that we talk about City and they make their own tempo and their own momentum, and they do. I agree with that, but I think for these one of the keys for the newly promoted clubs, and again it's a good theme because we saw it in the Southampton game and we saw it in the Ipswich game. The moments when the momentum is in your favour, you have to take
You have to
the
grab
ball
it,
by the
don't you?
horse.
Really?
You've got to do it. It's so important.
Yeah,
And
of course.
Leicester had that chance with Jamie Vardy, scored it. Fantastic. Southampton had chances against Newcastle. I'm thinking Adam Armstrong, Brereton Diaz. His chances at the moment where the game was in where momentum was in their favour. Ipswich had moments where they had a lot of positive possession in great areas and didn't really do the right things with the ball, or ended up kind of getting closed down by those big Liverpool centre backs. So momentum is so key.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
well,
of
we've got a lot to cover tonight, so I suggest why don't we go to Jordan Irlam for the rest of the Premier League results?
Yeah, okay, we can do that. We'll go through them as quickly as we can. So, as we discussed, Newcastle and Southampton played each other.
I just want to add something
Oh, sorry,
onto
Ben.
that
Yeah,
game.
yeah, that's...
Go for it.
Onto Southampton and Newcastle. Obviously, with it being a 3 o'clock game, I didn't get to watch the full game, but I watched the highlights, of course, and I really enjoyed it actually, because I don't know what you two think, but I thought it had a real throwback element to the game. And what I mean is, there was obviously a bit of needle with the Newcastle players and Brereton Diaz, as well as the Newcastle fans, because his play acting, if you like, is ultimately what dismissed Fabian Schär.
Yeah, so this is something that I wanted to highlight.
Oh, sorry, okay,
When we
George. So, yeah, maybe highlight this, and
Yeah,
then,
no,
yeah, we'll move to the results.
we'll get to it when we get to the biggest refereeing thing that I would say, but I do think it's worth mentioning. Obviously, Newcastle down to 10 men, Fabian Schär being sent off for the intent of a headbutt on Brereton Diaz, which, look, it's so soft. It's so soft.
That's not for me.
And there is the angle that you can see where they're both kind of going in for it.
I suppose you can't take chances, though, can you, with the concussion injuries? You know?
No, look, yeah, but look, we all three of us saw it. Like, it was on Match of the Day, so you will have seen it. It's very, very soft. It's the intent. it's the intent that gets him sent off, and I agree with that. But at the same time, you can feel like the ref made the right decision, which he did. But at the same time, you can think, oh, well, if that's a headbutt, fuck me. Because, like, and that's just being honest, because, like, you know, it's the right decision, but it shouldn't be a decision. It shouldn't have got to the point where that's it, where that's what we're doing, where you're sending somebody off because they've gone to headbutt somebody.
No, exactly, and I completely agree. I think, as you said, letter of the law, it's a red card, but I feel like, as we've mentioned previously, what example are these players setting? Because in the modern game, Premier League players are role models. Now you'll have someone watching that game, going out playing on the weekend for their local team or whatever, and they're copying their antics. It just doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, no. Let's face it. It's embarrassing.
Footballers have got to be role models, haven't they? Really, it's their responsibility.
It's embarrassing for both. It's embarrassing on both sides. Burton Diaz should not act like that when he's had a little tap on the head. That's literally all it is. You can see it. And secondly, Fabian Schär should not be going to throw the headbutt onto anybody anyway. So it's that's the reason he's been sent off, and we all understand that. We all know that that's the right decision. But it's just like it feels like it should have got to the point where, yeah, Cher did do that, but did it deserve that reaction? No, it didn't. So a loss for the Saints, but I do think a lot to take from that. And I think there's so many examples of that within the Premier League weekend where we talked about Ipswich. I felt like they actually were very positive for a newly promoted team. Didn't do a lot wrong. I think it was highlighted that they're that it all kind of fell apart for them once they kind of started to get a little bit tired and Alexander Arnold was allowed those spaces to deliver balls and open up the team as he did. Diogo Jota.
And you can't do that, especially with a player like him.
No, quite right. Goals from Diogo Jota, who, had an injury-prone few seasons, but I've always really rated.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mo Salah doing what Mo Salah just loves to do. And Liverpool up and running under Arne Slot. Was it the beautiful Jurgen Klopp that we kind of attacking style we used to see? No. Was it that much different? Not really. Was it a lot better than most of the top teams that, in brackets, top teams showed us this week? Yeah, I would say so.
It's going to take time, isn't it? When Klopp was there for so many years,
Yeah, I think it's a good start. I just think that it definitely took them some time. Right, next we're actually going to go back. We're going to go back to Friday night, and I will.
I was there live.
Yeah, I will let Ben completely take over. I just want to add how I saw it. I actually felt that it was one of the better Man United performances that I'd seen for a while. Mostly because, watching Man United over the past couple of seasons, especially last season, was pretty terrible.
I just want to interrupt. And as someone who would put Manchester United into Route 101 that is a Chelsea fan, Jordan with gritted teeth.
Look, I know you give credit where credit's due. We talked a lot over text about Mazraoui and why he signed him and a bit of a weird signing, and I thought he was fantastic. Xerxes obviously scored the goal. I don't think it was great from United at all. I think they were pretty poor in spells, and I think Fulham definitely should have taken something from the game. But I do think that all in all, over the last few years of Man United, I think that was one of the better performances that I'd seen live on TV. So yeah, I'm excited to see what Ben's got to
Well,
say.
I'll tell you what, yeah, because Ben, of course, was at the game. So what was your perspective in the stands?
Well, obviously, being there, I sort of echo what Jordan says, really. Obviously, a lot of anticipation going into the season. I think at times it wasn't pretty. As Jordan said, Fulham could have easily taken something from the game, but especially on opening weekend, it's important to just get the job done no matter how you do it, and that's what we did. As Jordan touched on, a few signings made the debut. Delict had a cameo. Not much to say about that because he only got about 5 minutes, but excited to see him for the remainder of the season. Mazraoui, he played the whole 80 minutes, I think it was, and he was outstanding. Pretty much won every duel, good on the ball. I said to my brother who went with me, I said it was as if Wan-Bissaka was still playing, but a better version on the ball. He was phenomenal. And I think that debut won over the fans already. Obviously, Xerxes, good for
Coming
him.
off the bench, yeah, to score a pretty perfect start for him, a debut goal.
Yeah, exactly that. Instinctive finish. I think United, obviously, it's hard to delve too deep because it's only one game. But I think if our players can stay fit, key players such as Bruno Fernandes, who's a machine, Martinez, who's integral, obviously Luke Shaw, known for being injury prone. If he comes back,
if you snap the trigger, he would be injured.
Yeah, no, you're right. He's very sort of brittle.
Yeah.
But if those players can stay fit, then I think it could be a good season for us. Obviously, last season was far from perfect, but a good way to round the season off with an FA Cup win, which again I was there at Wembley. Great to see us beat City. And yeah, positive win to start the new season.
Okay, anything more you want to add, Ben, or is that?
I just feel like with the new regime.
Yes, because obviously, so I just want to interrupt. So of course, they've got Sir Jim Ratcliffe, they've got the chief executive of, former chief executive of Manchester City, they've got Dan Ashworth, formerly of Newcastle, so a lot of people who seem to know,
Jason Wilcox.
Yeah, Jason Wilcox, yeah.
Oh, and yes, of course, I forgot him, formerly of Southampton, yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Obviously, it remains to be seen, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself because it's only the first game of the new season. But they've appointed footballing people who have made decisions at clubs of the highest order. So yeah, there seems to be a rejuvenated and positive energy about United this season, and obviously as a fan, hopefully that comes to fruition throughout the season.
Right, and now with the rest of the Premier League results, here's Jordan Irlam.
Yeah, okay, so starting off with Arsenal versus Wolves, an interesting one for Mikel Arteta to navigate. Is this the season for them? We will see, we will see. It was fairly regulation in the end. Saka assisting Havertz, and then Havertz returning the favour for Bukayo Saka on the 74th, and 3 points for the Gunners.
What a great player Saka is.
Yeah, definitely. And another
Second to none.
Yeah.
Well done, Ben.
Yeah.
That'll be one for Ben's football folio.
That's the one. That was pretty good. I like that.
Yeah,
Not
well
too bad.
done, Ben.
Not too bad.
No worries.
The one thing I will say, this is an interesting tidbit from this game. Aaron Ramsdale, a subject of a loan bid from Wolves. What do you think about that?
I believe, yeah, I read.
Yeah.
Turned down Ajax the other day.
Yeah, I was just going to mention Ajax as well.
The
But
bid from
I
Ajax
think-
rejected, didn't they? So
Yes, I think with Ramsdale, obviously a keeper of his caliber, he needs regular minutes, doesn't
well,
he?
of
I
course
think
he does, yeah.
I think a couple of seasons ago, the first season they went close. He was integral to that
And
season.
that's what's a shame. It reminds me a lot of Joe Hart.
Yeah, no,
Of course, because when Guardiola came in, he brought first Claudio Bravo, and then of course Edison.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what, Will? Just going off topic slightly. When you want to, you've actually got quite good football knowledge.
Well, that's because I was watching football when Bravo came in. That's memories, mate.
Yeah,
He
true.
He doesn't know nothing, but he knows a bit.
Yeah, but anyway, carry on, George, if you want to add anything else.
No, not much. Just another one, like we said, a good start. I felt like Wolves actually, again, did okay. Had some chances.
Yeah,
A lot of kind of all the teams that everybody that's in the mix played. You know, they all kind of give them a good game. Like we said, Fulham and teams like that. So that's all good. The start of the Fabian Hürzeler, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's right. Start of the Fabian Hürzeler era for
That
Brighton.
sounds about right to me.
Yeah, I think that was right. Started off very well with a 3-0 win, thanks to goals from Mitoma, Danny Welbeck, and Simon Adingra.
I have to say, it's great for Danny Welbeck to be really, kicking on now after several, injury issues. He seems to be really, really settled now.
Yeah, I agree, to be fair. I think with Brighton, they seem to have developed a game model, and they're always a dark horse for me. I think the way they play, it's attractive. They've got adaptable players and who can implement different styles of play very, very quickly. And obviously, we go there next week away. It will be a tough game, so if we can get the win there, it will sort of feel like a statement win. But for Everton, obviously their last season at Goodison Park, going into the season, there was a lot of optimism. Obviously, the big difference from this season compared to last is that they don't have
the points deduction.
A points deduction hanging over them. So, going into the season, there was a lot of positives. They've recruited well. So I was quite surprised at that result, to be fair. But obviously, based on that performance, you'd have to say they'd struggle again. I know it's only one game into the season, of course, but yeah, they weren't great at all.
And
Yeah,
George,
no,
anything you want to add?
it's early doors, as you said, and they, I agree. I think that's something that's kind of gone under the radar with Everton this year. They've recruited very well. I like a lot of the signings, and I just think that they've kind of it just fell short, didn't it?
I just want to ask you both a question. Do you think Danny Welbeck playing at Brighton, no disrespect, do you think the pressure's off for him, since obviously played for Arsenal and Manchester United, do you think at Brighton the pressure is...
Look, I don't think his goals tally has been amazing while he's ever been at Brighton. I think he took his goal very well, and he is an important part. I think at the end of the day, pressure's pressure when you're in the Premier League. But I think that it's not about the pressure. I think it's just the fact that he's in a system where it's getting the best out of him, and I think that's what it is rather than pressure.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just adding on to that, George, about the system, I think, obviously, I just sort of skirted over there. Brighton always have a system which any one of their players can slot in and perform well. They can adapt to the opposition they're playing, and it's obviously fluid style of play as well, and I think Welbeck obviously has the attributes in that to thrive.
Yeah, it's phenomenal from Brighton as a club, as we talked about last week. They know exactly what they want. They know the mould of players. Their succession planning is fantastic.
The recruitment seems to be absolutely spot on.
The recruitment is like people that with a low profile in terms of, it's not big names, it's kind of younger people or sort of peak age people from leagues that you don't, like the Belgian league or the Netherlands, the Eredivisie, and they come in and they do incredibly, like Adingra, like Mitoma,
Could Tarek Lapti leave because he's got one more year left on his contract?
I've heard that that's something that could happen, but that's Sam's
favourite player.
That won't impact Brighton though, because
he doesn't really play.
Obviously, in his first season there, I think he was integral.
Well, he's a key player along with Bissouma, who actually, we should just mention, was not in the squad for the Tottenham game after taking laughing gas, I think it was.
Yes, it was.
Naughty boy.
Just going back to Brighton before we move on.
Apologies, but yeah, just realised we didn't mention that, so.
No worries. I'd just like to say about Brighton, and I think it's something that goes under the radar. Over the past 2, 3, 4 years, they've not just lost integral players like Bissouma, Caicedo, McAllister, integral players for their system. They've also lost
Chris Hughton, Roberto De Zerbi.
Yeah, they've also lost managers that implemented a style, but it's like De Zerbi, like a Potter.
Don't forget as well. Sorry
to interject. How can I forget?
But when Potter went to Chelsea, so did half of that Brighton coaching team.
His backroom staff.
Yeah, exactly.
I think all of them went with him, didn't they? And not only that, but they also got the head of recruitment from.
Was it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. He might have been like sporting.
Duel.
Yeah, one of the sporting directors was from Brighton as well, wasn't he? One of the scouts. That Chelsea Potter move like completely gutted Brighton's coaching team, and yet they made. I'm just
They've just
I'm in
managed to
awe of
kick
that
on,
club,
haven't
to
they?
be honest.
Really?
I'm completely in awe of the way they do things, and again we talked about it last week, but then it's just fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
And that's what I wanted to highlight because it's so impressive and it goes under the radar that they beat twice now with the departure of Potter and De Zerbi. Twice they've sort of had to start from scratch in terms of the management team, and both times they seem to have just picked up from where they've
Where
left
they
off.
left off, exactly.
So
I completely agree.
it's impressive.
Yes. Right, all yours, George.
Yeah, I just want to say one last thing, which I think they will be very good this season. And I think we talked about United earlier on. That it's a great test for United on I think
Yes, because
Saturday,
Brighton are a
half
bit of a
12, isn't it?
bogey team, aren't they, for
Yeah,
Yes,
United?
absolutely.
we're the first game on again.
Yeah.
First game.
So, the next game that I wanted to highlight, we're jumping around the place a little bit. The next game I wanted to highlight was a game at the London Stadium. West Ham. We talked last week about some
We
of their
did, yeah.
business. Fulkrug, Wan-Bissaka, to name a few. We talked about Paquetá and what was going to happen with him. Well, maybe he heard us. He scored in this game, the equaliser at the time.
Yep.
Amadou Onana on debut, given an absolute gift from a corner, free-headed, he powered in before Paquetá equalised. And what I think is the thing to highlight from this game, the winner from John Duran, who was very, very close joining
Very
West
close to
Ham.
leaving, wasn't he, to go
Yeah,
to West Ham?
but very
Yeah.
close to joining West Ham. Picture
Exactly.
doing the iron sign, and I just loved not only that, by the way, but also linked very, very heavily to Chelsea at the time. So I
Yes, I
really,
believe so, yeah.
yeah, I really enjoyed his kind of, his celebration was like an apology slash, I love it here, I'm staying here. And I just love that. Villa, again, picking up where they left off.
Unai Emery, of course, good
Bit of an
manager.
interesting game. Don't think it was made. I think both teams kind of cancelled each other out, to be honest. I think Lopetegui is a good fit for West Ham, but
I
there's
mean,
a
he
few
only
things.
left Wolves, did he? Because they didn't give him, as you said on the
Yeah,
previous show, the money that he required.
there's a few things about that game, because I don't think it was like a really, really high quality game. Obviously, it was the evening game on Saturday night. I don't think it was majorly high quality, but I'm struggling to tell whether it was just two teams at the same level, trying to feel each other out, which I'm guessing is all it was, really.
Well, I just pick up on there, because you say about John Duran. That is one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it as well. For all the reasons you said, so I'm not gonna go back there. But one other reason why I also wanted to talk about it was earlier on we spoke about momentum. Now that was one of the games of the weekend which had a lot of momentum shifts. Obviously Villa were quick to get out the blocks, and then West Ham equalised through a penalty, as we've said. Villa probably should have got the second before then, but didn't, and then we go back to it again, momentum, because obviously Bailey hit the post, Tielemans forced a good block from Mavropanos, I think it was. So yeah, we talk a lot about momentum.
He was great as well, by the way, Mavropanos.
Yeah, he was.
Formerly of
But,
Arsenal, of course.
but
Yeah.
yeah, you took the words out of my mouth, Will. But yeah, that's why I wanted to mention it really, because of the momentum, it ebbed and flowed, and you never knew really which way it was gonna go, and I think it was quite fitting that Duran got the winner.
Yeah,
Yes,
loved it.
absolutely.
Love
What's great.
stories like that.
Right,
yeah,
all yours,
so
George.
the final game on the Saturday was a draw between Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth. Chris Wood picking up where he left off last season with his fantastic goal-scoring form to grab the opener, and one of the kind of underrated performers, I think, for Bournemouth over the past season and a bit that he's been there. Antoine Semenyo picking up the equaliser. Just want a quick word on Chris Wood. Really underrated striker. Love that he's scoring goals. I'm doing it at a great.
Wasn't it Leeds? I think they signed him from Leeds.
Yeah, Leeds,
Correct?
Leicester, different teams. So yeah, I like Chris Wood a lot. A draw doesn't do much. Not much to talk about there at all, really, is there? So we'll move on.
Although Danilo picked up quite a serious injury, I think it was confirmed that he broke his ankle. So
wow! So that's got to be out.
Nearly
the whole season, isn't it?
All, was it? It was horrible.
No, it wasn't good. No, and obviously on bad injuries, obviously this is taking us to a completely different league. So I'll be very quick on that. But Angel Gomez as well.
Oh yeah,
Manchester United, of course.
What's the situation there? Is he all right now? He is, isn't he?
Yes.
I saw the photo that he posted on social media, which, did not.
He took a severe blow to the head, but he since posted a video of him basically thanking everyone for the support and that he's all right. So hopefully,
well, we wish him the best.
Yeah, hopefully he's back playing soon. But anyway, back to the Premier League.
So this one should be interesting. The opening game on the Sunday, I don't know about you, Sunday afternoon, I was expecting, I'd just watch one of the Championship games, which we'll get on to. I wasn't really expecting too much from this game, but wow. And it all centres around the referee. First time Premier League referee, Sam Barrett. Free kick for Crystal Palace. Maybe 35 yards from goal, sort of to the side a little bit, to the I want to say the right side. A little bit of jostling in the box, as there always is, between Will Hughes and Nathan Collins, and Sam Barrett blows the whistle. As he's doing that, Eberechi Eze hits one of the most genius free kicks I think I've ever seen.
He's a great player, isn't he, Eze?
And scores the goal. However, because the referee had blown the whistle before the ball had entered the goal did not stand. Now, I'm just going to say one thing, and it's the only thing that I can think to defend this referee, which is he was only looking at the pushing and the shoving in the box. Don't get me wrong, well, actually, yeah, I do think it changes the complexion of the game, because I think that if he's not looking at that and he's making sure that Eze's got his wall lined up, things like that, Eze is kind of, making sure that Eze's in the right spot, not got his wall lined up, what I'm on about. I think that then means that when Eze hits the free kick, he gives it. I want to say that I he obviously came out publicly and told Everett Eze after the game he made a mistake. I think that's all well and good. I think at least he's got the closure. But
He's a new kid on the block, isn't he?
Yeah, look, I don't necessarily think that does a lot. It doesn't do anything to make it better for Eze or make it better for anybody involved in that scenario. I think the pushing and subbing is really soft, and I think it is really difficult to give that because they're pulling each other. I think it's a ridiculous decision to make. I think it's a schoolboy error. And again, talking about momentum, just to close out on what the actual score was, from that, Brentford then had a launch and attack a couple of minutes later, and Brian Mbeumo scored the opener, which was then equalised in an own goal by Ethan Pinnock before Johan Wissa got a little bit lucky that the ball deflected. Yeah, the ball deflected off of Dean Henderson into his path, and it was a 2-1 win for the Bees. I want to get your thoughts on it just in a second, Ben. But I do want to say that I don't think there was a lot to. Although Palace got the loss, I do think they were the better team. But in the kind of topic of momentum, I think when momentum swung their way, Brentford, when they had those chances, they took them, and I think that's why Palace lost the game. I don't think it's all down to the referee's decision, but I think obviously that changes it completely.
Yeah, I think. Well, I'll start off by sort of adding on about the referee decision. Now, obviously, the manner in which he did blow means VAR can't intervene, and obviously this season they're protecting referees more. But I think you're right in saying, although it did impact that moment in the game and it may have changed momentum or the scoreline, I think there was enough chances in the game for Palace to bounce back. Obviously, as you said, Brentford were clinical, and I think in the Premier League, especially, it comes down to fine margins, and that was definitely one of those moments. I think obviously we'll dive into this a bit deeper in a couple weeks, but Ivan Toney.
I was just about. In the words of Meatloaf, Ben, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, well,
Saudi Arabia calling for Ivan.
Yeah, he was omitted from the match day squad, which
Thomas Frank said due to transfer interest in Toney, and that's why I wasn't in the squad.
Yeah, exactly. I think obviously losing an asset like Toney obviously weakens them. They replaced him with a striker called Beto. They got him from Bruges, I think, in Belgium. Obviously out with a long term.
Yes, I know.
Igor Thiago.
That was it. I was thinking of.
I'm thinking who the hell are you on about? I thought you were on about the Everton fella.
Yeah, that's what I got mixed up with. I knew they got him from Bruges, but I couldn't remember his name. But yeah, he's been ruled out for the season. So obviously unlucky. They went back into the market. They brought in Fabio Carvalho from Liverpool. Which I think in time will be a shrewd signing. So they've done well there. And if they can keep Brian Mbeumo and Johan Wissa fit, I think they will be all right.
Well, don't forget, it's worth pointing out when Toney was suspended because of the whole betting thing. Brentford did manage without him, didn't they?
Yes, they did, and that's...
Yeah, I think as well, like, one thing that I want to say is the thing that I thought of when we were kind of talking about this, because I was going to say, no Tony, no problem. Because that kind of seemed to be the case. And I sometimes think with these ones that want these transfer, they want transfers or they want clarity in their place in the team. Let's look at it with the exception of John Rowe, because I think that that's different. But let's say like Raheem Sterling. Do we really think that Raheem Sterling, if he started, would have changed that result?
Oh no,
on Sunday?
We don't need to go back into that.
No, I'm just saying as a for instance. And I also think that the attacking, like, you people going about in Burma, but I absolutely love Johan Wister. I think he's so good. And I also think that you don't hear enough people talking about Wister. It's all
yes, because
Tony
obviously
and
Tony's in the spotlight, isn't he?
It's always Tony and Burma, but I absolutely love a lot of aspects of Wister's play, and I think that I think they will keep him Burma. I think they will lose Tony. I think he will go to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I'm going to say it.
I'm going to say it because I actually think that, like, when he came back from his suspension, he didn't do very well.
No,
he scored
didn't.
What? One goal. He scored one goal on the day that he came back, on the game that he came back, which
yes,
probably it's a case of like footballing. That thing where you go, you can't write football. I think it was just like a case of that. Like, it wasn't great, and that's why there aren't these big teams sniffing around him. Now, if come deadline day he's transferred to a Man United or an Arsenal, I'll eat my words. But I just don't think. I think if he would have come back and been the Ivan Toney that we know, which is pretty difficult considering he was banned for 8 months, then it would have been a different story. But I think sometimes you have to swallow it. Sometimes you have to say, right, well, okay, because I reckon you're on about 50 million for Tony. I don't really think that many top teams are going to pay that. I think the only kind of teams that will pay that is a Saudi club. I think a Saudi club would snap your hand off at 50 million for Tony.
Yeah, I think something we're overlooking as well is Thomas Frank. Now, if they lose Tony, they're obviously losing a good asset. It's not like the be-all and end-all for Brentford, because, as we've said, we've seen that they can survive without him. But in my opinion, their most valuable asset is their manager. We've seen
him. He's been with them for quite a few years now, hasn't he? Even when he got promoted into Thomas Frank.
Yeah. We've seen how tactically flexible he can be, how astute he is, his man management. He was obviously, before Maresca got the call, he was one of the names being linked.
Of course, yeah.
But for me, I think he's their most valuable asset.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, to get them promoted and then to have them as a Premier League mainstay, I think I absolutely agree with you. Right, and back to George.
Okay, yeah, we're going to go through the EFL, talk through some of the talking points. Starting in the Championship with the Friday game. Oxford obviously started so well last week. Played okay this time, but just fell short to Coventry. 2 from Haji Wright and 1 from Mikel van Ewijk, if that's how you say it. I think that's right. With goals from Kieran Brown and Mark Harris. Had you right, some player, by the way.
Had you right. Had you right.
That's what they sing. That's right.
Wait.
I like the strike partnership there that they've got with Wright and Sims. And yeah, hopefully it's a good season for them. So moving on to the Saturday games. We talked a lot, or I talked a lot about Middlesbrough, and obviously when we recorded on the Wednesday, they'd won, and they also battered Leeds at Ellen Road 3-0.
Leeds are falling apart again. Carry on, Joe.
And we'll get on to them in a second because they actually might be. They were beaten, but Middlesbrough were beaten 1-0 by Derby. Caden Jackson taking it round the goalkeeper.
2-0.
No, 1-0.
You watched it twice.
I'm pretty sure there was a second goal.
No, there was only one. Scored by Caden Jackson in the 14th minute. Derby were up and running in the second tier, which is again good for them. Caden Jackson, to be honest, a smart pickup from Ipswich.
Yeah.
Happy to see him start and score. And I really like the post-match comments from Paul Warren, where he talked about how he'd tried to sign Caden Jackson for years, tried to get him when he was at Rotherham, and Ipswich actually got the deal done over Rotherham at the time.
Yes, I liked how we said Ipswich nabbed him off me. Yeah, that was quite funny.
Next up, 2 0-0s at Portsmouth 0, Luton 0. I'm going to talk about this one because
Thomas Kaminski.
Yeah,
fucking madman.
Absolute GBH. Thomas Kaminski. Just not only did he top one player, which is a straight red anyway.
He thought, fuck it, I'll do another.
He was like, right, I'm already being sent off, fuck it, bosh. And got the other one. It's just absolute carnage. And, I think, again, I'm just going to double check while we're talking, but, again, issues at the back for Luton Town, still struggling with injuries and not 100%.
Their team is currently a bit lightweight, but they're a team that, like their manager Rob Edwards said, they'll grow into the season.
Yeah, and look, we've seen that from them before, so I wouldn't expect anything. Otherwise, another 0-0. This one, West Brom versus Leeds. It, like we said, kind of with the Leeds are falling apart shout. It's really not started very well for them.
No.
Over the last couple of days, they've lost Jorginho Ruta as well to Brighton.
Yeah.
Which is a extremely shrewd signing, although it is for quite a lot of money. But
40 million
pounds. Yeah, we know that Ruta is class, and if you watch the Championship often enough, you'll know. And now, somebody like Will, who didn't really watch him last season, or didn't see him in the Premier League either, like you're going to see
I hadn't
what a great.
Heard of him.
Yeah, you're gonna see what a great player he is. Like, talking about Leeds and why things are going as they are, I just think it's a little bit of a hangover from, not the greatest of seasons really. I think they wanted to bounce. They wanted to bounce straight back up, and they didn't, and I think that hurt them a lot. I think they'll be okay. Similarly, I think Carlos Corberan's West Brom will be in and around it. I do think it's quite the turnaround from a hat trick for Josh Madger, it was really annoying me that on the ITV highlights they call him Josh Major because that's not his name. And
fucking sort it out. Sorry.
Yeah, I've just got to mention that because it was really, really doing my head in. They're like, Josh Major causing major problems. I'm like, what the? Not even called Josh Major. It's called Josh Major anyway.
Sergeant Major.
Yeah, I don't get it. Anyway.
I can just imagine Jordan saying, "No, it's Major, you imbecile."
Well, first of all, I'd never call anybody an imbecile. Secondly, right, carry on. We're losing it a bit. Right.
Yeah.
we had the giggles before we started recording again. That's just what it is. Then we had what I would say was game of the day in the Championship. Bristol City 4, Millwall 3. Bristol,
Yeah.
What a game.
they raced into a 2-0 lead. 2 goals in 12 minutes, one from Anis Mehmeti and another from Sinclair Armstrong before Millwall battled back to take it to 3-2 thanks to goals. Again, 3 goals in 13 minutes. Romain Essa on the 51st, Tom Bradshaw on the 54th, and Duncan Watmore, who's been fantastic to start the season, on the 64th. However, that spirit and that great play that we've seen in fits and starts from Liam Manning's Bristol City came again. Fally Mayulu with the equaliser on the 78th minute, and Scott Twine recently just come back from Burnley on a permanent to score the winner. Talking of Burnley, they continued their absolutely amazing start to the season.
Well, they absolutely put them to the sword, didn't they, Burnley?
5-0 against Errol Bullett's Cardiff.
Yeah.
Now, the key part, and I think we talked about this a little bit off air, the major thing to talk about for this one is the absolute horror show of an own goal from Cardiff's American keeper, Ethan Horvath.
I just
Yeah,
couldn't
that
stop
was
laughing
terrible.
when I saw it. Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
I think that it's fair to say, by the way, on the balance of play and statistically, the 5-0 scoreline was not an accurate portrayal of the game, but Burnley under Scott Parker have been ruthless so far, and I fully expect that that's how they will.
Relatively well at Fulham, didn't he, Scott Parker?
He got them promoted. He got them promoted. He got Bournemouth promoted. So
yeah,
he knows how to
Can he
do
make it a hat trick?
I think he will. I think he's a fantastic manager.
Yeah.
I think he got harshly treated by Bournemouth, but there you go. And somebody a team that we highlighted quite a lot last week was Norwich. Now they had a win robbed from them thanks to a 87th minute equaliser from Blackburn, courtesy of Yuya Ohashi, who I like a lot. Goal scorers in that game.
He's a busy little player, he is. Looks a good signing.
He is. Goal scorers in that game. The opener from Hedges, then 2 goals from Norwich's probably I would say the 2 star players they've got in the team now that Gabriel Sarah's gone, Josh Sargent and
where the hell's he gone? I didn't know that.
Gabriel Sarah went to Galatasaray for $13.5 million.
I didn't know that.
One thing that you said about Ohashi, I also want to say that they've signed 2 main strikers,
That Gay
and Gay, and they both seem really, really impressive.
Yeah.
I think they're we know how good of a manager John Eustace is. We'll keep an eye on that one. First home league game for Wayne Rooney's Plymouth ended in a draw against the quote unquote heart attack footballers Tim Walter and Hull. Not really going to plan there, is it, mate? But we'll see, because I think that's one where it will grow. Sissoko was the opener for the Pilgrims, then club captain Louis Coyle taking it on his own back and scoring a worldie to equalise. Not much more to say there, to be honest. One of the standout results for me this week, Sheffield United 2, QPR 2. Again, Sheffield
ebbed and flowed.
Yeah. Sheffield racing into the lead. A goal from Gus Harmer, quality player, on 6 minutes, and Kiefer Moore on 13.
Still Chris Wilder in charge.
Yeah,
quite right. And then the second half came. Jimmy Dunn scored the 2-1 goal. And
formerly of Burnley.
Yeah, right. Jack Colback was sent off. It was a bit unclear what he was sent off for, so I'm going to say It
I
looked
think
like
it was verbal abuse, was
I was
it?
going to say it looked like dissent. And
Yeah,
even with
that
10
that was a
men,
bit weird, wasn't it? That one, I thought him.
Yeah, well, he did. He
that's the
sort
way
of
it is
didn't
nowadays.
relent. But carry on, George. Sorry.
That's the way that's the way football goes now, isn't it? You
Yeah.
can't really say anything to the referee, and neither should you be able to. But anyway, they equalised through Lyndon Dykes, and yeah, it's been quite disappointing. And on a side note, because I'm in a last man standing, which is basically you choose two teams, and if every time you go through, you have a chance at winning a massive pot of money. And Sheffield United were one of my teams, and they drew, so I got out. So that's nice. Not that you needed to know that, but there you go. Just a little bit of extra for you. Next one. Preston under interim manager Mike Marsh were beaten 3-0 at the Liberty. Don't worry, you're taking the words right out of my mouth. We'll get to it.
I'll let you continue, don't worry.
Who were beaten 3-0 at the Liberty. Matt Grimes, Abdullahi, and Zan the Potnik. Okay, so carrying on, we had Swansea, and they beat Preston 3-0 thanks to goals from Matt Grimes, Abdullahi, and Zan the Potnik. Now, as we know, they lost their manager Ryan Lowe. We talked about it last week. Mike Marsh was put in temporary charge. That was quite difficult to say. And he stepped down at the end of the game, which, a weird one. Didn't really know what that meant. Is it a sign of bad things? However, they have today appointed ex-Sheffield United Paul Heckingbottom. Now, good signing, I feel. I think it's probably the right kind of club that he needs.
Yeah, experienced manager, isn't he? So
Yeah. Knows the league. He knows the league very well.
Yeah.
And just to finish off with the championship for Saturday, before we talk about the Sunday game, my prediction of Watford to be in or around the relegation fight is not looking great whatsoever. Yes. They are 3 from 3, and they got 3 against Stoke, 3-0, thanks to 2 goals, Edo Kayembe and Ryan Andrews.
And that's a team who I wanted to bring up.
Solely you were rubbing your hands together when you, Jordan, as a Crewe Alexander fan, not Stokey rivals, so Stoke losing, perfect.
I'm alright with Stoke. I've got no problem with Stoke whatsoever. It's Port Vale for me. They're just scum. Yeah. I've got I'm sorry, because I work in Stoke. This is completely off topic.
Yeah.
But we'll go there.
Right.
I know a lot of people that support Stoke, and I've got friends outside of work, actually just normal friends that support Stoke. So yeah, I'm alright with Stoke.
Right.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up Watford just solely because obviously Joe tipped them for a bad season, and don't get me wrong, they still could, but they're proving you wrong up to now, Jordan. Tom cleverly at the helm, he steadied the ship when he was interim manager, and obviously appointed permanent manager. It seems to be doing the trick so far, and obviously ex-United player, I'm happy for him.
I'll be honest and say I love it. I love that they're doing so well, because everything pre-season pointed to them having a really bad season. But the one thing that I did say, I really liked Tom Cleverley, and I liked a lot of what he did when he came in. So I feel really good. It doesn't look good on me predictions-wise, but, as a football fan, I really like what's happening there, and we'll see how that develops. Now, moving on to Sunday, we talked a lot about Sheffield Wednesday. They absolutely demolished 4-0, and they got a 4-0 of their own at the Stadium of Light. The Regis Lebris, I still don't really know how to pronounce that name, but that's what I'm being told it is. The Regis Lebris revolution continues. Goals from Dennis Sirkin, 2 from Elisa Mayenda, and Luke O'Nien also got another. What a game, and I'll just say it right now, like Wednesday, completely outplayed, which just didn't seem to make a lot of sense whatsoever.
Yeah,
But they were, so.
I agree. I have nothing else to add other than, if you pardon the pun, they got rolled over.
No, they definitely did. They were absolutely second best. Moving in to League One, Nathan Jones yet again finding a way to get the victory, and it was one of his Luton Town old boys, Luke Berry, with the 92nd winner against Leyton Orient to continue their good start.
Is he with Charlton?
Yes, he is. It was also the first win of the season in the league for Peterborough, who absolutely swept aside Shrewsbury. So
emphatic victory.
Yeah, very, very worried about Shrewsbury. 2 from Poku, 2 from Randall, and a goal for Shrewsbury as well, which was the opener from Carl Winchester, which is a great goal, by the way. Very worried about Shrewsbury. Peterborough doing what Peterborough do best and picking themselves up and finding a way to carry on, despite, as we said last week, 2 weeks before, quite a lot of squad churn.
Yeah.
Other thing that I don't know whether I mentioned this on air or off air, it must have been on air, if I remember saying it, was Blackpool. They had their first home game of the season against Stockport County, and they again swept aside goals from Louis Barry, Jaden Fevrier, and Isaac Olafe as Stockport continue their great start at this level. Same
and
can be said.
A bit of trivia for you, sorry, George. My granddad knows Neil Critchley.
Well, he actually has quite a lot of ties to the kind of Northwich Crewe area, doesn't he? Because he was a youth coach at Crewe. So as you said, great start for Stockport. Same can be said for Crawley Town. They went to the Abbey Stadium of Cambridge United and came away 1-0 winners, thanks to a late winner from Adi Adiemo. That's 2 wins from 2 in the league for Crawley. Great to see, unless you're a Crewe fan and you're still very sore about the Wembley loss. Saying nothing there.
I don't think you'll be going there again, George, this season.
We'll get to that, sadly. We will get to that. Somebody else who has had a great start to the season is Michael Duff's Huddersfield. Wow. And preface this by saying, of all of the relegated teams, I did worry about Huddersfield a little bit. I like Mike Duff, and they've been fantastic. Karoma and Wiles scoring for them. A little bit of trivia: Ben Wiles didn't score 1 goal last season. He's got 2 in 2.
He was formerly of Rotherham, wasn't he?
Yes, quite right. It's also worth mentioning that Stevenage did get a consolation. Harvey White with a 95th minute penalty. Now, another team that we talked about, I'm sure we talked about both these teams, Michael Scubala's Lincoln and Darryl Clark's Barnsley.
Yeah.
Lincoln win here. Actually, it went the completely opposite way. Sam Cosgrove and Mark Roberts for Barnsley, with a Ben House consolation on the 70th, getting Darryl Clark off the mark in the league. I'd like that. A continuation of the very fun start that Mansfield Town have had. 3-3 the final result versus Burton Albion, with goals from, in this order, Will Evans for Mansfield, Billy Bowden for Burton Albion, a Jack Armour own goal for Mansfield, Ben Whitfield for Burton Albion, and then a 97th minute Lee Gregory penalty. You love to see it. You love to see it. It was a battle between Northampton and Exeter. Now, obviously, Exeter started very well last week. They beat Rotherham. Kind of expected another good performance from Exeter here, but John Brady's Northampton are made of stern stuff, coming from behind to beat Exeter. Tristan Kramer opened the scoring on the 8th minute before Callum Morton and Cameron McGeehan were the ones to get the goals for Northampton. Reading versus Wigan was a match that featured two of the youngest squads in the league this year, and Reading again continuing a very good start. They beat Wigan 2-0 thanks to goals from Charlie Savage, son of Robbie, and Kevin.
Formerly of United.
Yeah, formerly of United. So yeah, a very good result for them. Reading, they beat Wigan 2-0 in the battle of the two youngest squads in the league. An opening goal from Charlie Savage, son of Robbie, and then a continuation of the good goal-scoring form of Kelvin Iabashaman. We talked about Ruben Sellers last week. Really like what he's doing. Please just carry on. It's just really good. I enjoy it a lot. Not the best of starts league-wise for Rotherham. Expected to do a lot of good things. Brought in a lot of decent players under Steve Evans, and they could only muster up a 0-0 draw against Bristol Rovers. Not much to say about a 0-0, to be honest. An exciting one for me personally is the last game we're going to cover of the Saturday games, and that was Birmingham getting their first league win of the season against Wickham at Adams Park. Goals coming from an opener from Wickham, thanks to a Christian Bielik own goal. Then Alfie May continued with 2 into on the 31st minute to equalise. Fulham loanee Luke Harris put them in front in the 68th minute before Williamson got the third in the 82nd, and Sam Vokes made it just a little bit nervy on the 90th minute. It is worth mentioning that there was a game on Sunday that was Bolton versus Wrexham, which finished 0-0. I'll be honest, I didn't watch any of it because there was games on. I haven't seen any highlights because they're not readily available, so I can't tell you very much about.
I've not seen it either. So.
Yeah,
No,
I can't tell you very much about it. I'm just trying to look for some stats just to see what kind of game it was. Doesn't look like it was very much of a game at all. So we will leave that one there, and we'll go back to Saturday for League 2. And this isn't where, obviously, usually I just do it based on the results as they come up on the BBC Sport app. But I just want to get out of the way that Chesterfield absolutely destroyed my beloved Crewe Alexandra 5-0. It was 4-0 at half-time. Goals from James Berry with 2, Will Grigg with another, Tom Naylor with the 1, and Armando Dobra with the 5th. First home game of the season. I wasn't there. I couldn't be there. As you could probably tell by all the coughing I've been doing in these videos over the past few weeks, I'm not very well. And to be honest, I was glad to not be there because I think I would have been absolutely losing it. Not a great start from us. Things need to improve, and they need to improve real quick. Is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, especially, I'll just quickly add on that because I know time's ticking. I'll be very quick. especially because Chesterfield is one of the newly promoted teams. Of course, I know football doesn't work like that, but Crewe coming so close to promotion last season, you'd think they'd have come out all guns blazing, ready to right the wrongs, but it's been far from that. Obviously, Paul Cook's Chesterfield is a well-drilled side. We know that, but you'd expect better from Crewe.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's really poor. I just, the words kind of escape you, don't they, when it's the club that you love more than anything. And we'll move on because I think there's definitely more to say on the Alex when we talk next week. When hopefully, all being well, I will have actually seen them in person. So, and then I can talk about it a little bit more. So let's crack on with League Two, starting with the continuation of a wonderful story with Bromley. They played their first home game of the season and won 2-0. Their goalsman, Michael Cheek, getting off the mark, and Corey Whiteley with the second as well. Andy Woodman, I'm going to make a recommendation here, and it's off the cuff. Under the Kosh podcast, we've talked about this before. I've got a great relationship with them. I met them a couple of times. They talk to all sorts of different footballers. They did a fantastic two-part story, a two-part episode with Andy Woodman. If you've not seen it, go and watch it. It's some of the funniest stuff you'll ever hear. So there you go. There was a Northern Derby, Carlisle versus Barrow. It is Cumbria, isn't it? Yeah. Won by Carlisle with their first win back at the level. Adu Adeji getting the winner there. A ridiculous game at Accrington saw a share of the points between Accrington and Harrogate. Scoring opened by Harrogate's James Daly. Equaliser from Tyler Walton. 2-1 Harrogate through Ellis Taylor. Then 3-2 thanks to the former strike partners at Boston United, now strike partners at Accrington, Jimmy Knowles and Kelsey Mooney. And a 93rd minute equaliser from Sam Florarin. Bradford 0, Salford 0. Continues kind of a theme of there are teams that played very well in the first week that we were very positive about that haven't done so well this week, and we need to talk about it. Again, 0-0, not very much to say, just thought I would highlight that. The Cowleys played their first home game with Colchester this season, facing heavily fancied MK Dons and beating them 2-0. A goal from Arthur Reed and a goal from Jack Payne. Former Crewe manager Dave Artell got his Grimsby team's season at home off and running with, what's the saying? Off to a flyer.
Off to a flyer, yeah.
They got there in the end. It was a battling game against Michael Flynn's Cheltenham, but they did come out the winners thanks to 2 from Jordan Davis and a goal from Charles Vernon, with Cheltenham goals from Luke Young and Matt Taylor. Gillingham continued their great form as under Mark Bonner, George Lapsley getting the winner for them at Morecambe. Further on to what we were talking about teams we thought we would do well, I'm sure I mentioned, if it wasn't this week, then it was the week before, I said something about thinking that Doncaster would win promotion or even the league. They were beaten 3-1 by Newport County at the county ground. Nelson Jardim getting his league managerial first win with them. Goals from Courtney Baker Richardson, Kai Whitmore and Matt Baker, with a consolation from Odin Bailey. Now, I just wanted to talk about this one. I'm just going to highlight this because I'm sure on the highlight show they gave the goal to Camwer and not to Baker Richardson. Did anybody else notice that?
No, I didn't watch it, to be fair, but knowing you, you're probably right.
You've got to get on that. You've got to get on the highlight show. So good. Port Vale 0, Tranmere 0. Really poor game. Nothing else to say. Fuck the Vale. That's what we will say. Oh dear. And again, another fantastic performance from Matt Sadler's Walsall 4-0 victors away at Swindon, thanks to goals from Josh Gordon, Jamil Matt, Taylor Allen, and Albert Adoma, who should not be playing at League 2 level.
No, it wasn't too long ago he was in the Premier League.
No, quite right. And our final game of this week was a draw between Notts County and Fleetwood Town. A good start for Charlie Adam as Fleetwood manager. Obviously, they knocked West Brom out of the cup in midweek, and they were denied a win here thanks to a 95th minute Jody Jones penalty.
Goodness me, wow. What drama.
Rob Graydon and Brandon Sarpong-Weirdu put them into a 2-0 lead. Alassana Jatta in the 57th pulled one back, and then, as we said, Jody Jones with the 95th minute equaliser. And that takes us to the end of the FL. Does that take us to the end of the show?
Absolutely. Thank you, Jordan. Right, so before we go, of course, just to say, if you want more football discussion, then head to Ben's Football Folio. I'll put the link in the description. Ben, what's the next article that we can expect from you?
Well, I don't know, actually, because Leeds are playing Sheffield Wednesday on Friday night, and that's the game that intrigues me. So probably that.
Massively.
Probably that. But if not, it will be another Premier League rounding up the second week of fixtures. But I will probably be posting again on Friday for Leeds and Sheffield Wednesday.
Right, absolutely. We look forward
Importantly, 1 second, Will. Importantly, when are we going to see us again?
Well, I would guess probably next Tuesday or Wednesday, I guess. Yeah.
Yes. That's fine with me. Oh, don't you want to say your line, actually? Well, I was about
yes, of course, yes.
Say the line. Take us home.
Thank you. Thanks to our panel of Jordan Irlam and Ben Carney for their excellent insight and analysis.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Will.
It's been a great one. If you want to, feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the TubeMix YouTube channel. And join us next time where we'll be discussing all things football. And one thing's for certain, it'll be all without having kicked a ball. Goodbye.
Well done.
Goodbye.